And awesome! Welcome everybody to the first ever, like a premiere show of the BWTV or the Body Whispering TV. And I am super excited that this is finally out and about, and we have this as our wow. It's going to be it's our first ever chat show as a part of this project. Um, how did this come into place? Like as a part of body and business whispering classes, there have been very many people who have attended these classes and workshops with Dr. Dila Hafiz, and I mean, they have contributed to people in very many ways. And we often get to hear about, how it has contributed to people and it has changed and has added more value to people's lives. So we were wondering, what if we created a little show around it and really had people with real stories, real people on to really talk about how did this, like what did really change for them, like what were the changes that they experienced after these amazing classes. And today being a very special day for us, given the fact that it's our first ever show, we have a very, very, very special guest. Someone who I wouldn't call a guest, someone who is a part of our business and body whispering family, and someone, I mean, Smriti Shivdasani, someone who we have today, someone I'm pretty sure most of you on this group would know her. She's someone who has been hugely contributive to creating what body and business whispering is today in India. She was one of the first few people to kind of get it out and really be there. Um, I mean, I really don't know what else to say about her. There's so much to say about her. She's been a serial entrepreneur. She's worked in investment banking, retail banking, real estate. Someone who's had a very, very successful jewelry business. Someone who today is a global facilitator, mentor, guide, coach, facilitator. Someone who empowers people on a daily basis, and someone who has been a huge, I would say, a huge part of my journey and also a lot of other people's journey. And we all are part of Smee's gang and we all adore her. And it's just so cool to have you on. So welcome, Smriti. We are so happy to have you on our first ever episode of the BWTV.
Thank you so much for having me here. And how did I get so lucky? I'm so happy to be here. It's like you said, it's been a journey over a few years
Yeah.
of working with body whispering. I started with body whispering when I had like no clue what I'm getting into.
Yeah.
And I've come a long way since then.
Yeah.
And
You know,
I love the way it's grown.
absolutely, and it's like we will definitely get to the whole, how this all came into India and all of like that bit like very soon. But you know what? I would really, really like people, like I have also had the privilege to know you personally and like also know a little bit about you. If you'd like to talk to us about what's your journey been in terms of the very many businesses that you have been a part of, and like over the very many years that you have been, I mean, I think you've been doing business from I don't know how very many, like, so you could write a book about it. So would you like to talk to us about what's that been for you and when did it start?
After I finished my 12th standard, I started my first business, wherein I trained myself as a beauty therapist, and I was sent for training for just personal grooming, but I ended up doing a professional course, and I set up my own little, what we used to call the parlor, you know.
Wow.
So we had this huge 11-bedroom house, and I had like one room dedicated to my salon, what we now call the salon. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even then, I branched off into training students, in their grooming, etc. So I think I've been a teacher at heart. I love facilitating, I love teaching, and I love to create transformation. So that was my first business venture. I was doing pretty well. But then college got over and I wanted to study further and I wanted to do my MBA. So I came to Mumbai and I started studying. And then, of course, I got into the corporate world. And within a couple of years, I was out of the corporate world and I set up my first professional business venture, which was relocating expats into India, which eventually expanded into a real estate consultancy because I started offering the services to the locals as well. And then once I was established in that business, I realized that now I'd like to take some time to give vent to the creative side of me, which is an artist. And I learned how to design jewelry, and I started out as a one team venture out of a little bag, which went on to become a store. And then I was supplying to some 17 stores from my flagship store. And so I ran two businesses simultaneously. So one ran for about 20 years and one ran for about 15 years. And then in 2012, when I was first diagnosed with cancer, I started looking at alternate healing for my own self. And I fell in love with this whole arena of alternate healing. And I was fascinated by how life functions, how life gets created, how diseases get created. And I started studying even deeper. And then after a year or so of being in that field, I said, this is what I want to teach. This is what I want to facilitate. And I went on to obtain multiple licenses to facilitate various kinds of workshops. I started running my mentoring coaching programs. And it became so big that eventually I had to shut down both of those businesses because I really did not have the time or the space to take care of it all. And both my works were pretty highly personalized because I designed everything myself. I looked after clients myself in my real estate work. So I thought it was time that I moved completely into what I do now, which is facilitation, mentoring, coaching. This is like my full-time work now.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel I was born to do this.
Yeah, and I know you have made it very succinct, and you have like given us a very concise part of like how like everything really like went by, like the very many businesses that you were a part of. But something that I'd really like to know, and something we like all like to know probably, when did you know, like when each business kind of you transition from your beauty like that industry to a very different industry, and then to fashion, and to now into like this, when did you know that you had to stop that and then like move on to something different? Or when did you know that it was time for you to transition into something different, and how did you do it?
I don't know if I can tell you the when and the how. It's just that life speaks to you, your businesses speak to you, and you just know that this is it. It's time now. So, like for my jewelry business, I did know that for a time it was there was a way to operate it differently, where I didn't have to do it full time, but anymore. But somehow I just knew this is it. I'm done with this. Somehow there's an energy to everything, and you know when that's over. It's not that you can't do it. It's not that I could not have continued. I could have, but your body is like a transmitter. Your body is also like what do you say, like a GPS, which tells you that now you're kind of not on track. You've gone off. You need to move direction. So I guess all my life, in many ways, I did not know how to listen. And yet, in many ways, at some levels, I knew how to listen.
Yeah.
So I listened from a business level. I don't think I ever was able to listen to my body because I really didn't know that your body speaks to you in various ways. But from a business perspective, somehow I always knew this is it.
Yeah,
I'm done.
I mean, you are a born, like what they call like a born entrepreneur or a born businessman, and there's this huge debate about can you become can everyone be an entrepreneur? Is it something that you create? But my question to you today, when people do refer to you, or like even in this industry, when people do talk about you, you are like the flag bearer of someone who have like someone with one like absolute commitment. Like when we think about Smriti, absolute commitment, we talk about someone who's totally dedicated to her work, whatever she's doing, right? Like whatever you're doing, whether it be hosting a class with a couple of hundred people, or whether it be the classes that you facilitate and what you teach. And there is that level of professionalism in your work. And there's that quality. And that's something that people like, I mean, it goes without saying, like it is almost synonymous with your name. What I really want to know is that something that, like, was there a Smriti that was not all of this at any time? Like, was it something that she developed? Was there a weaker Smriti? And did life kind of push her to be the strong, independent, someone who can fight, not more than fight, like someone who knows that, this, like I can change it kind of an attitude?
I think I always had the guts.
Yeah.
When I look at it in hindsight, I think I was labeled, or I labeled myself, or I bought into the label that I'm a emotionally very sensitive and a very weak person. And I bought that lie for the longest time. But I think inherently, I have always had an amazing amount of strength within me. And when it comes to, standing my ground, I know how to. And when it comes to being independent, I think I'm very ferocious about being independent. So that's something that has always been my strength. It's always been there for me. And when I put my heart to something, I do it. So I think that's another way of knowing when your business needs to come to a close. If it's not lighting your world up, okay,
Mm.
when you wake up, if you're not excited about it and it's a chore, it's a burden, even though it's making good money, mind you,
That was
one
my
doesn't
next
shut the
question.
business.
Yeah.
Yeah, one doesn't shut the
Yeah.
business down because it's not making money anymore. My businesses were making money. Okay, I was doing very well, but it didn't excite me anymore. It felt like a pain. It felt like a burden, and that's not what uh, one wants to uh, roam around doing, like feeling, oh my god, this is so tiring. So I think the criteria is, am I happy doing this? Am I feeling alive doing this? Is this growing me as a person? Because also what happens is, I am somebody who is very, I love growing as a person. I have overcome a lot of my weaknesses. I've polished my life big time. So I was not like this, happy, chippy person all my life. I was by and large a very bitter, angry person, but I was always very committed and I was always very dedicated. And I believed in doing, I'm somebody who's willing to do what it takes. And that's how I have managed to handle everything and create a life from a place where I had no money, no job. I had literally been, told my way or the highway. So I had taken the highway and I had really no money also in my hand and no job in my hand. And I borrowed money and I started my life. And I was given this work of relocating expats into India. So I am somebody who has great survival skills, and I'm somebody who will not be beaten down by life. That's something I know about myself. And then you will do a business. At least I did the business to begin with because I had to put the rent, I had to pay
Yeah.
the rent of the
Yeah.
apartment I had rented out. I had to put food on my table. And there was nobody doing it for me. I didn't have anybody looking after me or taking care of me. So I was solo. And so, yes, to begin with, the motivation was, being financially independent and having income. But then there also comes what makes a business successful for me is my joy and the love for the business. And if I don't have that, then I don't put my 100%. If I don't put my 100%, it will show in my results. So for me, if I see that I'm not able to put my 100%, and I'm not talking about those low days, okay, I'm
Yeah.
talking about overall, that the fun in this is over, the joy in this is over. So so then it's time to move on, and then what
Yeah.
next?
Yeah, I mean, I would totally say that that requires a lot of guts, and also like that knowing that, what I mean, that the trust in self, knowing that, hey, whatever I do next, I could be. And that was my question, which you already actually answered, as to what is it that, what was your motivation? Because it was clearly not, because I remember having this conversation with you about your jewelry business. Like when you did have that jewelry business, it wasn't the money, because the money was coming
No,
in, right? So the
no.
motivation, as you
Mm,
say, is something that does light you up and something that gives you joy.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And also what I'm creating in the world with it. So
Yeah.
yes, I enjoyed my work of relocating people, finding them houses, etc., etc. I made some great friends from that business. And in jewelry, I had people coming back to me year after year, buying my jewelry. They loved it, and I created great connections, and it was serving so many people. It was bringing joy into their life. But I knew that when I came into this field, I knew that what I can create here is even greater, because I have seen my own self growing up like a victim and living as a victim and creating some nasty realities for myself. Of course, I didn't know that time that I'm creating it. It was everybody else's fault, right?
Yeah.
So I lived my life as a drama queen. I lived as a victim, and yet I have seen the humongous amount of ease, peace, joy that I had created in my own life when I started paying attention to life-changing principles. And as I applied these principles in my life, I saw the kind of life changes I had from having, I already was earning money, but I started earning greater money. My relationships, which were kind of messed up, not kind of, they were messed up. They became beautiful. I enjoyed relationships that I truly dreamed of when I was growing up. I used to desire the kind of relationships I have today. And also, I couldn't see myself feeling happy and being joyful. And that was an ask in my life. And finally, I can be that. I've brought that out from within my life. So if I can turn my life around from being so pathetic to being so beautiful and having a life that I love, then I feel that, just like I feel that I wish I was taught these things as I was growing up, I know then there'll be so many people out there who will say, I wish I had been taught this when I was growing up. So I said, if I needed this, I'm sure there are many people who require this. So I wanted to take it out to the world, and that started driving me. And I had no clue whether I'll do well, not do well. So I did, of course, continue with my two businesses, and I got into this field. But like I said, it became so much that at one point in time, my workers, the ones who kind of make the jewelry, we used to do handmade jewelry, they would be sitting for 15 days because man is nowhere to be seen, because man is busy in workshops and classes. Man doesn't have the time to attend to the business. And that was also not fair. So, yeah, I thought it was time at one fine day, just after I had been, I had just kind of started recovering from my first bout of radiation, etc. And I saw that this is not fair for my body, and it's pretty taxing. That work is physical. So I felt that I think it was time, because it was, while I loved the work, but it wasn't giving me that kind of joy. And I knew that more than anything, this is what I wanted to put all my attention on. And I saw that I'd rather put more attention on this business than on the jewelry business. And that was kind of getting ignored in the bargain. So I said, okay, sweetheart, I need to take a call on this, because, you've got to be very clear. You can't do half-hearted here and there. When I do personally. That's me. I personally like to give it my all, and I wasn't giving it my all, and I thought that was not fair for anybody. And so that's what I think, that joy is my driving criteria when I should
And
close
yeah,
my business.
and another thing which I don't know if too many people know, but then some like another thing about you which I absolutely respect, and something that I really look up to, is the fact that this thirst for knowledge and this thirst for really, really, really upping your game. And like, I know, like, I've seen your schedule and I know how you work, and I know the kind of work that you do continue. And that is, wow, like, I mean, that require you are like, probably there would be three people who, like the three people would make one Smriti would make three people's work. If you
Thank you
got what I'm
so
trying to
much.
say.
I
Yeah.
love learning. I
Yeah.
love learning. I am crazy about learning. I think, as infinite beings, there is infinite amount of stuff to discover about our own selves.
Yeah.
It's endless. So that quest, that thirst to know more and more of who we are, what is life really, how does life come together, how do we create everything, how does everything come into existence, that for me is something I'm highly curious about. And I don't think I ever get to a stage where I can say I know enough. So I'm constantly learning. And there are so many amazing people on this planet to learn from, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if all my life is dedicated to learning, I still feel at the end of it, I will not have learned enough.
Wow, that's beautiful. Now, coming to, so amongst the very many things you do, you are also the regional coordinator for Dr. Deela, and the work that Dr. Deela does. And body whispering, business whispering, baby whispering. And would you like to talk to us about how did that come in? How did this body of work come into your life, and what made you really embrace it?
So there was this particular time. Now I really have lost count of the years. It would have been either 4 years ago or
Yeah,
five
four,
years ago, I
five.
guess,
Yeah.
right? So I remember my very dear friend, our very dear friend Tulika. She messaged me one day. She says, "Me, can you contribute to this particular class that we are doing in Mumbai? It's called Body Whispering, and it's facilitated by Dr. Adila Hafiz. And if you could contribute and just pass the word around, to people about this class, because I, like you mentioned earlier, I function as a host as well. So I said, sure, I'll pass the word around. But what is body whispering really? And I think then that day or a couple of days later, I met up with Sulika and Dr. Adila for over a drink. And when I was first introduced to her, so she's saying, so, what's going on with your life these days? I said, well, I'm trying to promote your class, which I know nothing about. So she, you know, and as somebody who is used to hosting, classes, etc., I like to know what I'm promoting. I like to have
Yeah.
the energy of what I'm promoting. So I was very upfront with her. I said, I'm trying to promote something I have like no clue about. So she said, oh, so she laughed, and she invited me to a session. She said, may I gift you a session? So we were all part of another workshop, right? At that time that was going on. And in one of the breaks, she offered me, she gifted me a session, and I got onto the table not knowing what's going to occur. And when I got off the table, I said, wow, I love that. Like even right now when I'm speaking about it, my body's like tingling. I said, wow. And after that, Datu, I wrote a post on my FB. And I remember a very dear friend commenting, she says, me, a lot of my friends call me Smee, so I'm just saying that. She says, Smee, reading your post enabled me to tap into the energy of this. And the whole class came alive for me. Wow. After reading what you wrote. And within like, I think half a day of that post, we had another 7, 8 of my friends who just signed up for that class.
Wow.
And all of us had no idea what we're going to be doing in that class. What is this class about? But that energy that I had received from that session that Dr. Adila gifted me, that I think spoke volumes. And that invited people in. And that was the beginning, really. And from then on, year after year, I partnered as a host. I invited people. And as the tribe grew, you know how it is. Yeah. Everybody, once you get the energy, you become an invitation to more, because you take away so much from it. And so it has very organically grown to whatever it has grown to today.
Wow.
And if we're looking forward to it going from strength to strength, because it's such a beautiful body of work.
Yeah.
And the body of work has also evolved.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Like today, the body whispering classes that are going on, they are a far cry from what they were when at least I attended my first one, right?
Yeah.
They have evolved so beautifully, and there's just so much depth into it now.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
So the whole energy of that business and of that, the energy of body whispering has grown so beautifully that now I walk around as that energy. It's not something that is apart from me.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, you're someone who I would say is someone who is successfully running a great coaching, mentoring, facilitation, guiding, empowering as a facilitator in the world, right? And you have like a global presence now, and you are reaching out to people across the world. And can you hear me, Smriti? Can you hear me? Okay, guys, there seems to be a lag in the internet. Just give me a second.
I can
Can you
hear
hear me
you.
now? Okay, awesome. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. I can see you. I think
Awesome.
I lost connectivity. I'm sorry about
Yeah,
that.
that's cool. Okay. So I was really talking about how today you have like a successful business in this field. If I were to ask you, like, how has the body business whispering body of contributed in expanding what your coaching facilitation business is today? And for all the viewers who are listening, I mean, we have a lot of people who are facilitators, healers, coaches, guides on this program, and what advice would you want to have to share with them?
So what I would say is that the whole concept of body and business whispering is whispering, right? That our body whispers
Yeah,
and our business whispers,
yeah.
our life whispers. But are we listening? And very often we are not even aware that this is the whisper you're supposed to be listening to. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
so when I first attended the body whispering, and of course I attended the business whispering, the first muscle that I started developing was listening to these whispers and also recognizing what is a whisper? How does it show up in my life? So, like when I am not very happy with the current business that I'm doing, or like I'm doing something just because I have to do it. I'm doing it from that place of no, 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 I need the money, but I'm not really happy and I'm not aligned with that joy, with that ease. Body will create some stuff and it will show you that you're off track. So it could be a pain, an ache pain, or it could be some other kind of an imbalance. But we are thinking it's something physical, physiological, and we address it from a physiological perspective. We do not connect the dots. We do not see that it's probably that I'm very unhappy in the work that I am doing, which is getting reflected in my body. Okay. So the moment I started looking at this, and it took me a little while, that it didn't happen like overnight within a day of
Yeah,
the class. It took me
of
a
course.
while,
Yeah.
and as I attended more of body whispering classes and sessions, I kind of started tuning into it more. So I started recognizing that my body has actually been giving me indications for the longest of time that I was not happy. I mean, of course, I knew that I'm not happy, but I didn't know that the body was reflecting all the things that I'm technically not happy about and I should be addressing. Okay. So that was the first thing. So the more I started listening to the whispers of the body and started speaking to the body and looking at what is it that I really need to do, what is it that I need to change, I also saw that I also started functioning very differently with my clients, because now I was not just listening to what they were saying, but I was also listening to what their bodies were whispering, what their bodies were telling me, what were the things that were not in alignment with their true self, their infinite self. So it contributed a lot from that perspective, as in when I'm facilitating sessions, I'm very present with the body. I'm more in tune with what they are really saying behind the words that they're using. What is the body really saying behind that imbalance, or that ache pain, or that swelling, or that tumor that I'm addressing when I'm working with them? So the body gives me a lot of information. I just kind of tune in because now I'm trained to listen to the body and what the body is saying. So it helps me function in a far different way with my clients because I'm very, very present with my bodies, as in the clients' bodies, and also with my own self.
Wow.
Okay. So that is one thing. And the other way that it worked for me very beautifully is that when I was willing to listen to my business, you know, I didn't have this habit of talking to my business till I went to the first business whispering class. So when I started listening to my business and talking to my business, it was whispering to me for the longest of time that I need to add a dimension to my work. Okay. And which was, I knew that I required something more to be added to my facilitation business, which I could do on a distance basis. So yes, I have trained with, like I am a maestro and I do use symphony sessions to work on a distance basis. But besides that, there was nothing else that I did on a distance basis. I learned Reiki, but I never really got around to using it. Somehow it didn't something kind of go with
Yeah.
me. But I knew that there was something more that I was looking for. And then last year, and I continued to, I didn't ignore just because I could not see any possibilities right away. I did not ignore that whisper. I kept it there. I said, okay, just show me when it shows up. I should know very clearly that this is what I've been looking for. And then there was something that came up as a post where somebody said that I have channeled something and I'm looking for people to trial it. And although technically I'm not a Facebook friend and all of that, and yet I saw that post. It was weird how I saw that post. And I said,
Yeah.
I'm interested. And out of so many hundreds of people, she needed only 33 people. And I was one of the 33 people, who was invited to trial. And from there, it kind of went on to become something bigger, and it became formalized into classes, which again I hosted. I said, come on, come.
Yeah.
I hosted. I brought her into India, and then from there the classes started growing, and then suddenly there was an option to become a facilitator of that modality, and I said I jumped for it, and now it has become one big body of work, which is my one dimension of my business. So my business has expanded. So I work as an access consciousness facilitator, which is my big body of work. And then came body whispering, as in sessions, because that time we are not facilitating body whispering classes, but I'm looking forward to facilitating them next year. So,
Yes. Yeah. And Smriti is going to be one of the first body whispering facilitators
sure,
in the world.
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
So this became one of my bodies of work. And then now I have this new extension and dimension to my work, which became my third body of work. And now I'm bringing in a fourth body of work very soon, because I'm getting licensed this month with an international certification. So when you listen to your business is always whispering to you, but you've got to learn to listen. You've got to learn to tune in and recognize that it's a whisper. It's not your mind talking to you. It's your business talking to you, and then act upon it. See, that was one thing I learned in my first class, where Adila gave us this example. She said, you're saying in your mind, or you're thinking, I'm thirsty, but you're not getting up to go get that water. Why? Because you're so busy doing something, and you think that you need to do this. You'll very happily, conveniently ignore that whisper of your body that your body requires water.
Yeah.
She says, you will not move. And I said, shit, I do that all the time. So one thing is that it whispers, but the other thing that is to take action. And one thing that I have so much gratitude for, that I learned from Dr. Adila, is congruency, being congruent in your actions with those whispers. So act upon those whispers, be congruent in your actions. And I think when you're willing to do that, your life can expand. So just like my facilitation has expanded, your life, whatever may be your life, it'll expand. Even if you're not working, you don't have a business, but if you're willing to listen to the whispers, you will see your friendships expanding. You will see your quality of your relationships expanding. You will see your own self as that being that you are expanding and growing and stepping into more and more infiniteness of you, provided you're willing to listen to the whisper. And your body is always telling you what's not okay about your life. What do you need to look at? What do you need to pay attention to? And if you're willing to pay attention and act upon it, I have changed a fourth stage cancer situation uh, into a healthy body because I followed whispers. Like there were times when I did not want to take a certain number of medicines. Like there were some 12 medicines tablets for the day that I wanted. I knew I have to go off, and I informed my doctor that you know what, I'm not going to be taking these 12 tablets. They're not creating anything wonderful for my body because I knew
And
my
even
body is
with your
telling me.
food, like even with your
Even with
whole
my food,
diet. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And even with my food, somehow I always knew that this is what my body requires. Like my body would tell me, this is what I require. And then when I would tell my oncologist, this is what is going on, he says, I think you should be having more oranges. And I've just recently started having more oranges because my body had, or you need to have more potatoes. And my body had been craving potatoes and I had been
Yeah,
eating potatoes,
yeah.
you know. And then there was this time when my platelets were very low and I suddenly felt that I needed to have more sugar. And one day, the blood technician comes to take my blood, and I said, "What do patients normally do to increase their platelet?" He says, "Madam, we tell them to eat chocolate." I said, "Really? Seriously? I've been
Wow,
eating chocolates." Now, I don't
wow.
know how far that is true, but
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying is that when I'm listening to my body,
yeah.
I could do, I would follow it, and it was bang on. So then I told my doctor that I'm not going to be taking these 12 medicines. He didn't bat an eyelid because he trusted me. He knew that I know. He knew
Wow.
that I'm in tune with my body, and he let me be. And he even today tells me, keep doing whatever you're doing because whatever you do is fine. It works. So that sense of trust
Yeah,
develops when you listen to your body and when you follow up on it. Okay. And that is the gift of body whispering. That is the gift of business whispering. And I'm not saying that other bodies of work do not
yeah,
allow you to have that. All
yeah.
bodies of work eventually are about you being more aware and you being in tune with your body, your life, your business, listening to it, and changing it as and where you need to change it. So, or taking new directions. Like I keep taking new
Yeah,
directions all the time.
yeah,
So, and I don't have a problem. I don't sit and worry, oh, but if I take this, start this new business, what will happen? I just jump into it. And if I'm willing to listen, I know that I will never be guided to some place I don't need to go. And it may even flop. That whole idea may flop, but I would have gained something from it. And I know that it was a wonderful place to go to in the long run journey. You may
yeah,
not be able to see it there and then,
yeah,
but in the long term, that's what you see. So
yeah.
that is the gift of listening
Yeah.
to
I
whisper.
mean, the way you said it, like I already feel so it's been such an enriching, like such a nurturing conversation, something that's filled with so much richness. Just this would is such a huge contribution to everyone who's listening. So I mean, I couldn't have thought of a better first episode, and we've kind of I know you have a very tight schedule and you have something to attend to. Thank you so very much, first and foremost, again, like from the bottom of my heart. I'm so very glad that we did this in spite of having moved the dates and
I
my
know.
stupidity. But like, thank you so much for like doing this. Like, I absolutely, I mean, we could do this for a couple of hours, like if I would have it my way.
Well, we could do
Before
multiple sessions from time to
Yes,
time.
yes,
And
yes. And I
thank you for
am going
inviting
to,
me.
yeah, and I am going to bug you soon for another slot with you. But before you go, we thought we will just have, like, this 5 questions for Smriti that we have. I know I did not let you know about this before, and it's
Okay,
like a last minute surprise. So just for
cool.
fun, just for everyone, and just for everyone to know you better. So I have 5 questions for you. 5 questions for you, and they don't have to be right and they don't have to be correct, and it's just for fun, right?
Yeah.
So,
They're not
okay.
rapid fire
So
though, right?
I mean, you know who I'm trying to be. So we'll know at the end of it. We'll know at the end of it if it's going to be rapid fire.
You're
Okay.
being that too.
So
Okay.
I'm being that too. So what would you do with your 15 minutes of fame, Smriti Shivdasani?
I would go about telling people that you're beautiful and you are amazing. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise and live your life to the hilt. Take leaps of faith. And I would just use those 15 minutes to let people know this. Have fun, enjoy your life, take your chances, grow, evolve, learn, have fun. You're beautiful. You're nothing less than beautiful.
Wow, that's beautiful. What TV sitcom would you be? TV or a movie role, like in one thing that you thought I could have, done that better, or I could have not better. I would have probably would like to be a part of it. A TV or a movie show. I mean, a movie or a TV show. I said
The
that.
Oprah show.
Oh my God! Yes, absolutely. That's a great. Yeah.
I love what she creates on this planet with her shows, and that's what I would love.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, yeah, she's a huge inspiration too. Third question. I know this. It's so funny even as I read it. What's your favorite way to relax, Smriti?
Reading books, lying in a hammock, reading books. That's my favorite way to relax. And if it's in a garden or by a pool, even better. Or by the ocean, oh my God, even better. And I do that a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah, yeah.
That's my
I'm so
most
glad.
favorite.
Yeah, and you enjoy it. So
I
I'm
love it.
so glad. Yeah. Two more questions to go, and as
Hmm.
you may know, this is a question by popular demand.
Okay.
I mean, we did have someone actually ask you this question: Shah Rukh Khan or Salman Khan?
Shah Rukh. Any day.
Okay. All right. Last thing before we let you go, Smriti, today. We know you cannot kill me for this. We know
Okay.
you have a
I love you. I won't kill
beautiful,
you.
we know you have a beautiful hidden talent. And can you hum a line of any song of your choice to the viewers, listeners, and for me? Just one line because we want to hear you sing. You've done that for
Okay.
me once before on Facebook Live. I'm going to ask you to do it again.
All right. दिल है छोटा सा छोटी सी आशा मस्ती भरे मन की भोली सी आशा आसमानों में उड़ने की आशा जीने की आशा दिल है छोटा सा.
Oh my God, I don't know. Mic drop. Thank you so much. We couldn't have, as I said this before, it couldn't have been a better start. So thank you so very much for joining us today. And yeah, thank you so much. And we hope to see like more of you like really, really soon because I know there's a lot for us to really talk about. And those of us who are listening, we plan to have these as a part of the BWTV. We're going to meet every fortnight with one guest who's going to share with us what changes they have received with this beautiful body of work. And yeah, stay tuned and we will get back to you soon with who our next guest is going to be. And one last time, thank you so much, Smriti, and we love you.
Thank you. I love you. And thank you, everybody, for watching this today and in the future. We're so grateful for each of you. Thank you for the gift you be. God bless.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.